I think it was Spielberg that said there are two things unique to human history: storytelling and games. I think the story that I would like to share with you today is that we always have had a passion for learning, a passion for the future, and a passion for seeing the possibilities before they became obvious. As a matter of fact, we started in the trend business, and we would get in this hot air balloon and try to see things that other people wouldn't see and help them see it. We were absolutely convinced that if people could see what we saw, they wouldn't be doing what they would be doing. They would be taking advantage of the waves of change and riding them versus getting swamped by them. And we took this idea and this concept to many different organizations and teams and people. And I can remember some of the executive teams we took it to. We went to golf courses and wineries and resorts. Wineries always being our favorite, by the way. And we would provoke their thinking. We'd say, if you could look out the front windshield versus the rear view mirror, you too could take advantage of this. About Thursday of that week, whenever we did this, we would have the best ideas out, and finally we would toast our collective brilliance at the bar and thought we nailed it. The challenge was this: whether it was 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days, or 6 hours later, whatever those ideas were, and we brought them back to the organization, they were dead on arrival. And we saw this huge gap between the few of us that might have thought it up and the rest of us that had to bring it to life. There was a sense that it was not about the learning speed of the brightest few, but it was engaging that dormant human capital in all of us to bring it to life. And what we began to realize, this whole concept about the future and getting everybody into the future was a very passionate area and a huge opportunity to change people's lives. When you think of it, probably one of the best futurists ever said, the future ain't what it used to be. And Yogi Berra also said, if you see a fork in the road, take it, and you can observe a lot by watching. But if you're watching, what you see can't be acceptable. If you're watching, what you see is that 60 to 90% of our strategies are not executed. And I don't care if you're not in a corporation, 60% of our dreams and aspirations do not come to life. What we set out to do just don't materialize. 55% of us are dissatisfied with our jobs. 70 to 75% of us are not engaged. And it cost the U.S. economy somewhere over $400 billion last year. This isn't good. As a matter of fact, when the global economy has never been more competitive, and the U.S. has never been more in need of creativity, and our region has never been more vitally interested in innovation, this isn't what's happening. So the real question is, how do you tap people? How do you bring them into the game, and into the game that they can really be a key contributor to? And so part of that, and a key part of that, is to really look at this issue. Recall and begin to realize that human beings work here. We have forgotten this. We have fundamentally forgotten this. As a matter of fact, people are engaged, just not at work. I mean, Harry Potter's last book sold 5,000 copies a minute. 5,000 copies a minute. I mean, I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan. Whenever you go to Jimmy Buffett and there's 40,000 people, they don't remind you when you come in, when he does fins to the left and fins to the right, please participate so he feels good. It's natural. College football has just started. I mean, anybody that was involved in the Notre Dame-Michigan game, nobody was checking their watch at the end of that game. And if you've gone to a dinner with a person that really matters to you, you're just enthralled and encapsulated in the conversation. But what happens when we go to the places where we spend 40 to 60% of our waking hours that we just don't bring the best version of ourselves? Or better yet, what can we do to really tap that? So one of the things that I think is really critical to that is the recognition that human beings respond best to an honest assessment of where we are and a clear picture of where we want to go. What I'd like to set up for you is that there's this set of things that may seem uncommon, honest and clear, feelings and meanings, cartoons and pictures. And when you begin to think about it this way, what you begin to realize is that, unfortunately, most of us are not honest with where we go, and we're also not clear when it comes to executing whatever it is we care about. Our team agenda, our corporate strategies, or just the real initiative that matters to us. As a matter of fact, truth-telling as a core competency is a rarity. It's an absolute rarity in terms of most organizations. You know, when you think of it this way, when you think of truth-telling, well, let me ask you this. Where do you think are the 3 places in organizations where we tell the truth? Anybody just have an idea? if you're in an organization, there's three places. Where are the three places where we tell the truth? Anywhere? Where? True? Yes? The hallway, the water cooler, and then the infamous place, the bathroom. Yep, the bathroom. Let me ask you this. How many of you have ever been in a meeting, clearly not this TED meeting, but a meeting in your organization or somewhere else where after the meeting ended or the session ended and you went with somebody you trusted into the bathroom and you did one of these things? Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Because it's true. And why did you have to check if anybody else was in the stall? Why did you have to check? To see if it was safe to say what you really felt. Are you kidding me? At a time when we need the best ideas more than ever, at a time when the creativity and the imagination of people and the truth of where we are has been more vital, we're afraid to say it anywhere except in the bathroom with somebody we trust. We have got to change that. We have got to find ways to take the best ideas and make truth-telling as a core competency something that is normal and everyday in our organizations and between people. The fact of the matter is, we don't know how to have these conversations. We don't know how to have the difficult issues that are essential to our future and get them on the table and talk about them. Now, whether it's in the hallway or the water cooler or, as you infamously already said, the bathroom, there is somebody that's really good at doing this. Anybody know who this guy is? He's in 1900 newspapers. Dilbert. Absolutely. What does Dilbert do? What does he do? He has the ability to be relevant to how you feel. He has the ability to tell the truth. He has the ability to make what you feel valid. There is this whole issue, it's called emotional intelligence. The great comedians do this, by the way. You want to connect people? Watch a comedian. Bill Cosby will be on a stage with 3,000 people and nothing but a chair. And in 10 minutes, you'll feel like he's known you all his life. Because if you're going to connect people in authenticity and honesty, the first story you tell must be one of empathy, not but be a story of where we want you to go or what we want you to do. And to do that, you really have to find creative ways to make it safe to talk about the issues we don't know how to talk about. Now, again, we started doing this with cartoons in the art of the water cooler. And so the art of the water cooler is beginning to draw what we don't know how to talk about. 10 years ago, we met with a company for 6 months on their strategy. And then we had the top 250 people in a room for 3 days. At 11 o'clock before we left, we gave them all the audience response systems and said to them, how excited are you about this strategy? How absolutely committed to it? How willing are you to advise your mom and dad, aunt and uncle to go buy our stock? They all clicked. Guess what number came up? 19%. 19%. The chairman looked at us and said, you guys are really good. How do I get my money back? We said, hang on for a second. Let's go talk to the people. And what we heard from the people was that the strategy is not the problem. The truth that we're not addressing here is the behaviors and the culture that will not bring it to life. And so we drew this picture. And the picture we drew was a picture of what was really going on. And what we found was, and I know it's a little bit hard to see, is that they told us that all the leaders were wearing masks and not saying what they really thought. So we drew it. We said some of the people said, I met my number, it can't touch me, it's not about me. As a matter of fact, some of the folks said that we're really like at the kids' table at Thanksgiving and we don't even make it to the adult table. And some of the folks said to us that, we're all drinking non-confrontational water and the real issues aren't being discussed. We brought that picture back to that senior team, those 250 people. 3 months later, they said 3 things. Number 1, we can't believe you were in the bathroom. Number 2, we can't believe you had the public vulnerability to show us. And number 3, if you're serious about it, then we absolutely are on board. That company went up 3 times as high as it ever been. And the ability to have authenticity and embracing reality became absolutely key. Now, in addition to having an honest assessment of where you are, it's also important to have a clear picture of where you want to go. And in the spirit of some of these other examples where we've now done this 200 times, the cartoons create the familiarity and the safe place to go. But the other issue is the picture of where we want to go. And I think I'm a little ahead on the slides, but let me just try this with you for a second. If I say this word, what do you think? The word is bear. Aspirin, bear. Over here. Black, bear. What is it? Yogi, okay, bear. Grizzly, bear. Naked, okay, watch the front end up here. Bear. Smoky, bear. Market, bear. Feet. Nude, naked, okay? Let's go execute that. Together, let's go execute that. Let's go get the naked Smoky. Or the grizzly feet. Here's my point. If the first part is an honest assessment of where we are, where it's safe to say what we really think, the second is not just familiar words, but shared meaning. How do we use pictures to create shared meaning? In other words, how does what we say means the same thing? I was in 7th grade, and I had a great experience with Catholic schools. But I also had this experience where I can remember that the sister said, we're going to the restroom, and I want everybody to pick up your feet. So she said, pick up your feet. And so I picked them up. She said, I said, pick up your feet. So I picked them up. I had them about this high. Finally, she said, pick up your feet. I had them up to my chest. And I said, as I was going forward, I think I'm doing what I want. 2 minutes later, a hand came out of nowhere, grabbed me by the cheek, took me to the principal's office, put me in the chair, and said, call his parents. He's mocking me. I said, are you kidding me? I thought I was doing exactly what you thought. This happens in our organizations every single day. If you want to create shared meaning, pictures, drawing what you think it looks like, and then engaging somebody else on what they think it looks like, and iterating it in conversation to shared meaning is hugely powerful. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, we've now done this with over 400 companies around the world, and it's amazing how the dialogue drives out meaning. We're not drawing pictures. You're using visualization and dialogue to draw out the opinions, the attitudes, the beliefs, and merge them into a common mental model that means the same thing. And by the way, you can do this on anything that's important to you. Your strategy, a high-performance team, the next level quality of marriage. What does it look like to you? Draw it out. Draw the picture. And when you draw that picture, engage somebody else and say, what does it look like to you? And then iterate that picture together to where, when we talk about pick up your feet, it means the same thing. In addition to that, there are all kinds of important places and spaces where we work together, this is very valuable. You know, one of the examples that we often use is this whole idea of our marketplace. So this one happens to be for Pepsi-Cola. When we talk about the urgency of the marketplace, the changing customers, the changing economics, the changing health issues, we talk about all that. You've got to feel it. You've got to know what that means. And so when you draw it out in a picture and you engage people in understanding it and talking about it and how to change it, the meaning comes out. 32,000 people in 3 weeks now understood not that they had to go do something different because someone was giving them fear, facts, or force, but they know what it felt like, and it made sense to them. From functionally illiterate to PhDs, and they got it. People will tolerate the conclusions of others. We will tolerate the conclusions of leaders, but we will act on our own. How do we allow the imagery, the pictures, to not be familiar words, but shared meaning? Another example would be for a company like Harley-Davidson, where we talk about how we make money. Where does the money come from? Where does it go? How does the circulatory system become part of what we're interested in? The visualization of that picture and what it means becomes a common mental practice field or a brain gym for all of us to be part of it and to really understand it. And I guess the final story I'd like to tell you is this issue of getting people in the game. Getting yourself in the game, getting your colleagues in the game, or getting your followers in the game is something that's absolutely essential and passionate. You know, I'm from Ohio, so, you know, for all my life I've been a Cleveland Indians fan. And I made my family Cleveland Indians fans too. And if you're familiar with Cleveland Indians, they're absolutely god-awful. They're terrible. They've been horrific. As a matter of fact, you know, they made Major League One, Major League Two, Major League Three movies about the Cleveland Indians. They're a joke. Finally, in 1995, they made it to the World Series for the first time in 40 years. 40 years. And so we were there at the gate, and they opened up the gate, and our family went in first, and it was surreal. It was a night game, and the banners were out, and everybody was dressed the same, and you go first, no, you go first, and absolutely phenomenal. And as we made our way to the seats, I also had two gentlemen with me from Mercedes, and as we were sitting down for the first World Series in 40 years in Cleveland, they said to me, "Excuse me, can you go get us some hot dogs?" And I said, "What?" I said, "It's the first World Series in 40 years. I don't care how much money you spend with us. Sit down, shut up, and watch the game." Somebody said to me later, they said, "I now get what you do." There were 42,000 people in the stadium, 41,998 that understood the game, understood how it would be played, understood why the field was striped, understood the culmination of the season, and two didn't have a clue and wanted to get a hot dog. 41,998 understood how score would be kept, and so that they were all talking about the different dimensions of scoring runs and not scoring runs, and two didn't have a clue. And 41,998 understood the strategy was not something that you put in a binder at the beginning of the year and checked at the end of the year, because they were all talking about, what if this happens, we do that, if this happens, and two didn't have a clue. Unfortunately, in our businesses, you saw the statistics, we have forgotten that human beings work here. In terms of authenticity and feeling and clarity and meaning, we have got to find a way to make it safe to talk what we talk about and to know what it means to create what we're trying to create. And as a matter of fact, if you think this isn't possible, the U.S. economy also lost $12 billion last year. Anybody have idea what that was on? It was about the number of people playing fantasy football and fantasy baseball on work time. So what are they doing? They're setting up a team. They're getting in a competition. They're playing a game. They're checking the results. And they're playing strategy every day. Just not ours. Just not ours. Make it safe to authentically talk about the issues we don't know how to talk about, and use visualization to create the pictures of the future that mean the same thing to all of us.